Thanks for coming back after lunch. I hope everybody is enjoying their afternoon. And I'm looking forward to spending the next hour and a half with you to talk about career services. To give you a little bit of information about myself, my name is Julie McShane. I'm the Associate Director of Career Services for the Masters of Engineering program. And I've been working in higher education for about 10 years. In all different capacities. I've been an international student advisor. I've been an academic advisor. I've been working in career services for approximately the last 8 years. And I've been on campus for about 5 years, working with the Fung Institute since the Masters of Engineering program started about 1.5 years ago. So to get started, this is our agenda. But I'd also like to hear a little bit about who's in the audience today and get an idea, especially for our panelists as well. How many people from the EATS department? Okay, so you're starting to cluster the IOR department. Great. Emmy? Yes. CEE? Okay, great. Nuclear engineering? Wonderful, in the back there. And how many people here today are international students? Okay, wonderful. And how many people here today are currently working in industry? Okay, good. So a contingent of those as well. Well, we're going to have plenty of time for questions from our panelists at the end. And we're going to... What? Oh, BioE, sorry. And there's a large number of you guys. You have 21 here today of BioE. Where's BioE? Great. Well, thank you all for coming. Sorry about that. So this is the agenda. We're going to briefly talk about career services, what we offer, go over programs, workshops, events, go over our job survey results for the last couple of years, so give you an idea of where our alumni are working. And then I'm going to have alumni and a current student come up and speak with you, answer your questions, and give you that perspective. So to give you an idea of career services and our philosophy for the year, I'm here to help you achieve your career goals. Whatever they may be, provide you with the connections and the resources to be successful throughout the year recruiting while you're here to get the job that you want. So not only do I want all students to come into this program and end the program with the job that they want, but to acquire the skills to have a successful job search throughout their entire career. Students and people in industry can have jobs, 5 to 10 different jobs. So you want to have the skills to have a successful job search throughout your entire career. And that includes cover letter writing, knowing how to negotiate a salary, everything throughout the whole cycle. So these are some of the services that I provide. I have an open door policy, so if you ever have any questions, students could come on in and talk to me. If you get an email from an employer, come talk to me whenever you need to. I also work with students over Skype, email, phone, and try and be very accessible. And these are some of the different areas that I work on students with, everything from online branding, which could be your LinkedIn profile, your website, job search strategy, and salary negotiation, which is really important. And we do lots of different programs and events specifically for Masters of Engineering students. We do business etiquette at the beginning. We do interview skills workshops, so we go over technical interviews, behavioral interviews, and case interviews. We do career chats, which depends on the makeup of the student body. We can customize it depending on what you're interested in. So we did a career chat on product development, product management, startups, because that's what this year's class was interested in. We also do tech treks to the Valley. We went to both Google and Facebook in the fall semester. And again, this is something that we can customize to each class, depending on the interest that they're showing. You've heard a little bit about leadership opportunities in this program. We have a career services representative, and that's a liaison between my office and the student body. And that person helps with a lot of these programs. And we also have networking events with employers, specifically for Masters of Engineering students. So we have an employer breakfast in the beginning of the semester, where we bring in employers from all over the Bay Area, sometimes outside of the Bay Area as well, depending if they're able to travel, to kick off the recruiting season, to come talk to you, tell you about their companies and their openings. And that's a great event that we usually have in September. We do a lot of alumni networking, both a brunch in the fall and a happy hour in the spring. And we also try and get alumni involved in lots of mentoring. So we have alumni at companies all across the nation, the world. So if you have questions about specific companies, if you're interviewing at companies, I can try and connect you to somebody there so you can learn about the interview process and basically get your foot in the door. And as a Cal student, you also have access to lots of campus resources. So while career services in the Master's of Engineering program is here specifically for you, there are lots of other services that you can take advantage of. There's a central career center that does career fairs, info sessions. There are lots of student organizations. Depending on your interests, a lot of students get involved with organizations at Haas or within their specific departments. And then being in the Bay Area, there's so much to take advantage of just in San Francisco or Silicon Valley. So I always encourage students to take advantage as much as they can to get involved. A lot of jobs come directly through networking. That's actually the number one way that people get their employment. So the more people that you meet, the easier your job search is. So the more involved you can be, the more successful you'll be. And also with the networking events, your fellow students are there as well. So getting to know your fellow students is also a tremendous help to you. They're going to be your peers in the field, and you'll assist each other throughout your careers as you build those relationships here. So our survey results that we've had over the last couple of years have been really good. Our students have been successful in their job searches. We've had 2 different cohorts so far. In 2012, to give you an idea, after the first semester, 76% had at least one interview with a top company. And after 6 months of graduation in 2012, 90% reported working in their chosen field. So these are people that have reported back to us. Over 90% of the class have said that they're working in the field that they want to work in. This year's class is also equally successful. First semester, there were over 200 interviews that took place with 96 different employers. And as of March, over 40% of the class has accepted a job offer. So that's pretty good. And a lot of students they're still in the process. It happens throughout the whole year. Some students are still interviewing. Some are accepting job offers right now. But as of March, 40% had secured a job offer. So I'm going to touch a little bit on salary range, because that's a question that a lot of you submitted online. So the salary range, I'm just going to talk about it quickly because it varies so much. It depends on the discipline that you're going into, the industry, the company, the experience that you have when you enter the program. But I can tell you, employers look at this degree differently. You are not going into an entry-level position, even if you have no work experience. Your salary is usually a little bit higher than that entry-level counterpart, but there is such a range. So you can compare yourself to other departments or concentrations, but but students, whether they're coming in with experience or no experience, having this degree, employers have been very excited about it and favorable when they're giving their job offers. So what I say is really you have to learn the market, you have to utilize your resources on campus, and negotiate that offer so you know what's best for you. So next, I also want to touch upon how you can be successful in your job search. Because you've all heard how intense the program is and how busy you will be when you get here. So what can you do to make yourself as successful as possible? Well, one thing we do is start over the summer. We start working with you guys in June and July to really get you prepared to recruit on campus. Because recruiting starts here in September. So when you get here in August, we want you to be ready. We want you to be able to hit the ground running. And part of that is as simple as having your resume ready. So I start working with students over the summer, June, July, August. I'll actually be on maternity leave this summer. So I'm just going to take a moment to introduce my interim assistant here, Lee Desser. So she's going to be here over the summer, helping all of the students that want to get a head start on their career search, which is highly, highly encouraged. So while you have the time over the summer, revamping your resume, learning how to write a cover letter, starting to formalize your job search strategy, looking at companies that you're interested in. These are all things you can do before you get here. So when you are here, you can spend your time starting to apply, starting to network, starting to meet with companies. And it also depends what industry you want to go into. So these are the conversations that can start over the summer. If you're interested in consulting, they're recruiting here at the beginning of September. So you really want to be ready for that. I never want to see a student miss an opportunity because they weren't ready. So that's why we do the summer start. And we do a lot of programming right around the boot camp time period. So some of the workshops that I just mentioned, like the business etiquette, that's something that we'll do in August. So you're ready and kind of prepped to start meeting with employers and start going on those interviews. In your packet today, there are also some tips that you can do to get started over the summer. Again, it could be as simple as just making sure that you buy an interview outfit and order your business cards, which is a program that we have through Career Services that you could order Fung Institute business cards. So here's a list of where a lot of our alumni are working. And I think, this is great because you can see they're working at startups, they're working at big tech companies, they're working in defense and consulting. Students are going everywhere, and this list is just growing. So this is your network, and this is your network getting larger and larger, and what I'm going to encourage you to take advantage of while you're here. So, for example, this is from 2012, our alumni are from 2012. Some companies that aren't even on this list, Accenture, they hired 6 of our students this year. Schlumberger, they've hired 6 of our students as well this year. So more and more companies will have Masters of Engineering students in their ranks. So that's really exciting for us and really exciting for you. And here's an example of some job titles. We're seeing pretty similar job titles that are coming in this year as well. With the addition of bioengineering, we'll see even more job titles. But these are examples of what alumni are going on to do. So that's a little bit of career services from my perspective. I'm going to invite up a current student to alumni now. And we're going to start the discussion panel. I will also be able to field any questions that you may have about career services or the program. But right now I'm going to welcome up Sunny, Mona, and Kevin. Why don't you guys come on up to the stage? Thank you so much for joining us today. So this way you guys can hear straight from the source what it's like to not only recruit on campus, but we have 2 alumni with us, so what it's been like for them since they've graduated. So I'm just going to have you guys briefly introduce yourselves, where you're from, where you went to undergrad, either where you're working next year, where you're working now, and if you want to tell students what department you were in and maybe what your capstone project was. Nice little introduction. Thank you. We can start.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sunny. I was in 2012 ECS. I was focusing on CS, on graphics and visual computing. I did my undergrad in India. My first job was, though, in US. I worked at DreamWorks Animation Studios, making movies. After that, I decided to come to this program, to the 9-month Master's Engineering program, especially because the professors here were really awesome and the program seemed really nice. I could get some managerial aspects as well as technical skills. I graduated and I joined Zynga after that, where I'm working right now as a software developer. My capstone project was with Adobe Systems. We were working on a crowdsourcing technique to do video processing and rotoscoping. That went pretty well as well. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with the program.
Great, thanks, Kevin.
I'm Kevin Yen, born and raised in Chicago. Went to undergrad at University of Michigan for material science engineering. Then worked at a startup for a summer. Then came here for IAOR. The reason I chose IAOR was just because it was a very general degree that would hopefully be able to get me somewhere that I would find myself. Didn't really quite know what I wanted to do except for startups and entrepreneurship. And then my capstone project was initially like a tiny piece of hardware that plugs into your phone that allows you to measure your blood glucose levels for diabetics. And then through a few courses here, we transitioned that to be a series of mobile applications to help diabetics eat out more properly. And right now I'm working at a startup called Launchpad Central, which, if anyone's familiar with Steve Blank, we're essentially trying to scale his Lean Launchpad curriculum globally and pretty much help entrepreneurs fail less.
Cool. Thanks. I'm Mona Raithatha, and I'm doing my master's in mechanical engineering here. And I did my undergrad from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign in nuclear engineering. So I'm currently working with Siemens on their capstone project about optical flame detection system, and we would be required to give a recommendation to Siemens as to how to increase reliability of their gas turbines. It's a very good project, and we happen to go to Orlando to see their company site in winter break, so that's cool. And I'll be working with Schlumberger next semester, next year onwards, and my job function is a tech and field engineer because I like to travel a lot. I chose this kind of position where they would require me to travel for first 1.5 years, and after that I would be posted in Houston.
Great, thank you. So we'll start off with a fun question. So we all know that Berkeley can be a little different. You guys might have noticed that since you've arrived. Describe a funny story or experience that you had when you first got to Berkeley. And again, we'll start with you, Sunny.
Oh, so I came to Berkeley first in 2009, and while I was working at DreamWorks, which is right across the bay in Redwood City, and most of my friends were from UC Berkeley, and it was, I guess, my first or second month in US, and I'd never known what Halloween was. So yeah, that was, I guess, my first. It was a really good experience though. Like I dressed up as an Indian movie star, but yeah.
Can we get pictures of that?
No, all censored. But yeah, that was my first experience. The one thing which I liked about the place was all the people in that party were mostly UC Berkeley students who were really nice to talk to. They were really helpful, and yeah, I like the Berkeley vibe, I guess.
Great.
So mine's not so much a specific memory as it is kind of a longer-term experience. So since I went to Michigan undergrad and grew up in the Midwest, I'm used to very cold and long winters. And so, it was Thanksgiving here, and everyone's putting out, turkeys and whatnot, and it's still 75 degrees and beautiful, and I just was blown away. I was like, how is it November already? It's gorgeous outside. And it was just weird for me because I usually had like that mental timestamp of the weather changing to let me know that time was moving. Meanwhile, here in Berkeley, it's pretty much just gorgeous year round. So if you like good weather, definitely come here. Yeah, that was my weird moment.
Mine is actually very similar to his. We both prepared our answers separately, though. I grew up. I spent my undergrad in Illinois too, so I was so used to like very cold, harsh weather. And once I came here, I would see people going out in board shorts and all those things all the time. So I think that was quite fun.
Great, thanks. So once you got here, did you find it difficult to adjust academically to the program in Berkeley or culturally? And any tips for that transition?
So personally, not really. So Ann Arbor, Michigan is probably the most synonymous city with Berkeley in my mind. It's very different culturally. It's a lot of activism goes on in both of those towns. Very liberal, and so culturally it was really easy transition for me. Academically, just really good institutions all around, and so everyone here is really collaborative and supportive. So it's not too difficult to get acquainted to that type of environment.
For me, I was working before I came back to college, so it was quite difficult to get back into the studying zone. And plus, the animation industry is quite fun, so you used to have a lot of parties, and you can't do that when you're studying at Berkeley, I guess, at least in the first couple of months. So and the workload was pretty good. You couldn't really, you had to do a lot of stuff, and the capstone project also was pretty challenging for us. So yeah, it was the first couple of weeks. You had to really struggle hard to get away from that mindset of work and get back into the study zone. But after that, kind of got used to it.
Great. Did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I came straight from my undergrad, and I didn't find it much difficult to adjust academically. In terms of culture, Berkeley culture is much more vibrant and much more fun, and people here are very outgoing, which was not the case in Illinois. Like you all.
Anybody from Illinois?
Yes. So in that way, it definitely helped me, and I live in international house, so that is always a good thing that you get to meet people from outside your program, and it just definitely helps you adjust more to this place.
Okay, great, thanks. Did any of you get involved with any professional organizations or student groups, either on campus or in the Bay Area, while you were here? And I know, Kevin, specifically, you took Steve Blank's class, which was outside the program.
Right.
You could maybe expand. I know somebody asked about that specifically. You could expand upon that a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
But did anybody else get involved with any groups on campus or stuff?
Yeah, so I took a class called the Lean Launchpad, which Steve Blank runs here, and I did that the second semester. And so, as I said before, I came here with the sole purpose of getting involved with startups, and because of that, I didn't necessarily join any professional organizations on campus, but I joined like all the possible meetup groups I could, and every single event organizer I reached out to, like either within Berkeley, San Jose, or San Francisco, just to go and meet entrepreneurs, meet people who are doing things, building things. And so that was like a great way to just meet people in general in the area. And then the class in specific was a great way to connect with other people, either in the Haas Business School, the MS programs, or the MEng program, who were also really interested in entrepreneurship.
Great, thanks. Yeah, the Bay Area is really wonderful for that. There are meetups in San Francisco and Silicon Valley all the time.
Yeah, there's literally something like every night, and most of them are free with drinks and food. So
You can feed that.
yeah.
Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
Similar.
Okay, great. So I now want to talk a little bit about your interviewing experience. So you're all from different departments. We could start with Sunny as an EEC student. What were some of the companies that you interviewed with while you were here? And what was your interview experience like? And ultimately, why did you choose to go with Zynga?
So I interviewed with, I guess, 4 or 5 companies, but in different roles. So I did interview back with DreamWorks, where I came from, back as a technical director. which I got. I interviewed with Zynga for software developer because I wanted to be a game developer on social games, which was something new last year. I interviewed with Google for a PM position, which I didn't get. And I interviewed with Microsoft for a PM position as well. But then I finally decided to choose Zynga because, one, it was in the Bay Area, SF. Second, I wanted to be at a company where I can work hard, I can grow fast, rather than at a bigger corporation where it might take me a longer time to prove myself and grow in the corporate hierarchy. So yeah, that was the main reason. One thing I'd like to add, though, was I did have my own website, and I think in all of my interviews, at least one of the interviewers had visited the website and seen the kind of projects I was doing, the capstone work I was doing here, and the courses I'm taking, which was quite helpful because it took away at least 5-10 minutes of them getting to know me telling them what I'm doing in my current courses in my capstone project, because they already kind of had an idea about it. So it was helpful for me.
So you had a pretty strong online presence.
Yeah.
That's good. Great. Kevin, what was your interviewing experience like, and was there anything specific that helped you through it?
Yeah, so the first semester I was here, I interviewed with a lot more typical companies like Accenture, other consulting firms, some larger industrial operations companies like SanDisk. Those interviews were pretty typical if anyone's ever just interviewed with companies in general. I ended up not pursuing those too much, though, just because they weren't really what I wanted. And then in the second semester, I was both applying to, I had a large spreadsheet of all the startups that had come out of Y Combinator, and so I was pretty much stalking all those online, emailing them constantly, either the founder or the office manager, whoever. And similar to Sunny, had a website of my own that listed all my previous work and projects, whether it was good to show them that or not. And yeah, same thing for me. It decreased a lot of the getting to know each other part of the process. And then in my resumes, I got extremely tailor-specific to each of the companies, since there's 10 people in the company. And so I would call out specific things I knew about a person in the company or the founder or about their vision or something like that. And so my interviews with startups was very different, where you pretty much get to meet everyone in the company. You come in, and then the later rounds are pretty much working there for a day to see how you get along with everyone. In the end, I got a job at ZeroCater, and then was approached by Steve Blank and some of his colleagues, and they were starting a new company. 4 days before my start date at ZeroCater, asked me to join their new company, and so I had to quit my first job and join that one, which was a very awkward conversation, but I'll explain that later. So now I'm working at Launchpad Central.
So I'm a MEng major, and I got my interviews through going to career centers and Callisto and all those things. And most of my interviews were very much resume based. There were some technical interviews, but those could be easily managed. My interviews, specifically the companies that I interviewed for, tested more on soft skills like leadership skills, your communication skills. And I interviewed with a company called Navigant Consulting, which is based in SF. And they take it for granted that you are a Berkeley grad, so you already have technical skills required. So they don't even question you about that. They wanted me to do presentations. They wanted me to submit my writing sample. For Schlumberger, I interviewed for 2 positions. With Schlumberger, I got both of them, and I chose tech and field instead of the other position. And purely because I wanted to travel, and it gave me more opportunity to do that. For MEng, my experience is that most of the companies, they would ask you technical questions, but not so much in details. They take it for granted that you know stuff. They care more about your social skills and your leadership skills, and it's much more resume-based. As far as something like online is concerned, I don't have any website on my own, but I do have a good LinkedIn profile, thanks to Julie. And I mentioned some of, you cannot mention all the things on your resume, right? So it is good to put it on your LinkedIn website, LinkedIn profile, and that can save you some time and also make you more, you can tell more about yourself to an employer rather than just in an interview.
Great, thanks. And Mona mentioned Callisto, which is Cal's central job board. So that's where employers post a lot of their positions, and that's open to everybody on campus. So students of the program use that in addition to other career resources on campus. Did you use any other career resources on campus to either meet employers or aid in your job search?
I did. I used to schedule mock interviews with the Career Center. I scheduled it with Julie and all. And they have a list of alumni who work for particular companies, so you can always find those people and contact them. And I'd like to mention a good experience that I had with my capstone advisor. So I had a interview with Schlumberger, and it was my very early interviews, and I was like, I'm getting scared, I'm nervous. So I contacted my advisor and I was like, hey, I'm having an interview with Schlumberger, can you help me? And he has a student who is a PhD student and who works for Schlumberger. So he put me in touch with her. We all went out for coffee, and my professor on my behalf asked questions to her. So many times you don't know what you don't know. So your professor can help you out. So networking is really the key here, and don't hesitate to ask people. So go to career centers, go talk to your peers, and take advantage of all those things, and it helps.
Okay, great, thanks. Anyone have anything else to add there? Okay, wonderful. So this is geared more towards Sunny and Kevin. How do you feel better prepared now working for the last 8 or so months after having graduated from this program?
You want to take it?
Yeah. So one thing which I can bring, I can see happening in my current role, which especially because of the program, is the way to critically think about the business aspect of things. So even though you are just creating a software or a piece of platform, who's going to benefit from it, how is he going to benefit from it, and how you can tailor it so that the clients or the customers do adopt it, is something which I never used to think in my previous job. Probably didn't require that much, but especially at Zynga. So even though I'm a software developer, I devote 30% of my time to product and defining the characteristics or the spec of the product, which is usually a PM job. But in a small company, you can put your hand up and decide to do what you want to do. And once you prove yourself that you're good at that, people do take your word for it. So that's something that I really like in my current role, because I do 70% programming and 30% product, which I guess I always wanted. So, and I think some of the way we handled our capstone project at Berkeley was really beneficial for me to start thinking in that direction and how to pivot.
For me personally, definitely to expound on what Sunny just said, coming from a very technical undergrad degree, the MEng degree definitely gave me more of a business side perspective, especially the class with, if Lee's still teaching it, the business leadership class is fantastic, just because it really gets you thinking and prepared on more than the technology behind products and more about the value that they're going to offer in the end to the end user. And so that is immensely important when it comes to real world jobs and applications. And then in addition to that, the capstone project. So the one that I chose was very startup based, obviously, and so it was really emotional for me and my team. And so working late nights, you're bound to get really frustrated with 3 or 4 people that you're spending 16 hours a day with, and then one day at 3 a.m. you all just want to kill each other. But working through those kind of things really helps you later on when you're working on a tight-knit team or a small company or any environment, just because you know how to overcome those types of obstacles.
All right, wonderful. Mona, did you have anything to add? How you may feel better prepared going into your first job?
Yeah, as I told you, my interview experiences was more about soft skills. So the presentation skills that I've learned here, the other aspects of leadership, which is keeping in mind accountancy, your user needs, etc. That helps a lot. So I was out there. I had to give a presentation in front of 20 other people. All of those candidates are from very good universities. But I definitely felt I was better than them, and I was different from them, and that is because of this program. This program gave me confidence to say that. Let's just say that. So yeah, it helps you. And all those things are needed, you know. I never thought, I was like, oh, I'm engineer, I don't need to worry about all those things. But you do need to worry about all those things. And if you sometime want to do a startup or something, those things are important.
Yeah, great. And a lot of the interview processes, like the one that Mona went through at Schlumberger, it's a day and a half. So they can be very intense interviews. So it's nice going in and you're feeling prepared, not only academically, but there are things that you could take advantage of. Here at Berkeley Career Services, you could do a mock interview before you go. You could run your presentation by me or one of your faculty members or mentors in the program before you go. The business etiquette definitely helps with events like dinners that they host you at before the interviews start, or interviewing lunches and things like that.
So one quick note on what you just mentioned. A critical part of a lot of interviews at bigger companies is when they ask you if you have any questions for them. And so, again, referring back to the business leadership class here, it really gets you well prepared at asking and preparing questions. And so that's like just a really easy, immediate way to impress an employer, because if you have like a critical question on like their business model and you actually catch them off guard on that, then, holy cow, they're just like, oh, well, how would you fix that? And it's not about answering the question, it's just about identifying problems. And then, you obviously work together from there to address it. So that's just another way that this helps.
Great, thanks, Kevin. So I have one more question, and then I'm going to open it up to all of you. You can ask any questions that you want. So they've heard a lot about the program and how busy you are throughout the year. How did you guys strike a work-life balance or academic/interviewing, recruiting balance while you were here? Were there any tricks to how you did that, or how did you just balance your time with recruiting?
You want to start?
Sure.
So because I was an international student, I wanted to get my offer complete before December or January, because the H-1Bs get filled up in April, as it did this year, 3 days. So I wanted to do it early rather than doing it late, which also meant that I couldn't take too many days off for interviewing off-site, because most of the tech companies would want you to be there for one complete day, like from morning 10 to evening 3 or 4, which makes you miss classes here, and they won't interview on weekends. So I had to really first shortlist which companies I really wanted to join. So I shortlisted like 4 or 5 companies. And then after the phone screens as well, like there was a couple of companies which even after the phone screens, they wanted me to come on site, but then decided not to because I was quite doubtful that I would ever join them. So it was really crucial for me, even before going to the company, to make up in my head that if this company offers me a job, am I going to take it or not? And once I was clear with that, then I decided to go for the on-site interviews. I went for 3 on-site, and all of them were in the first semester itself. And you can also talk to your professors about it. At least the CS professors were very okay with it. They understood that, yes, it's a 9-month program and you have to go off-site and you might miss a class. So they were okay with it, with you missing a class. And at least my CS professor gave me like 4 options in one semester to miss a class for an interview. And I think even Lee allows that, right? He gives you 1 or 2 classes.
Yeah.
You can miss 1 or 2 of them. Yeah, it's really difficult. You have to balance with them, but you can work through it as long as you're sure that this is one company you're really interested in joining.
Yeah, I knew that if I'm gonna start late, some of the company I would lose out on some opportunities. And at the same time, my work would start piling up for my capstone and other things, and I wanted to avoid that. So I started job search early. As soon as I came here, they have career fairs and info sessions and all, and I made sure I attended all of it or most of it, and then shortlisted the companies that I really wanted to apply for. So that is how I went about doing it, and it's much less stressful right now when you have to finish your master's thesis, give posters and presentations.
So I pretty much went the exact opposite route, where I just kind of postponed any sort of like serious job search until later in the second semester. I was in particular very interested in pursuing or spinning off the capstone project into an actual startup. And up until about late April, so right about now actually, we had some potential angel funding, and then once we decided to turn that down because we didn't think the idea was good enough, then I had a mad dash in about 3 weeks to find a job with a startup, and got one, but very stressful. Took the much harder route than both these two.
No, but one thing which is also there is because you were a citizen and
I'm born in the
H-1Bs.
USA, so
exactly.
Yeah.
So for all the U.S. citizens, take your time.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Where can we start? We have one down here. I'm going to bring a mic to you, or CJ is.
Hi, my name is Rie, and I'm an international student. Thanks for your speech today. I'm still a little bit confused about the timing, because as she said, some consulting firm starts recruiting as early as September. How would you market yourself if the school has just started and you don't know if you're going to fail or not? When the job search was as early as September.
Okay, so I can say something about it. I started my job search in the third week of September as well, but there was difference because I had worked in the industry before, so I kind of knew which fields I wanted to go into. I knew that I wanted to do my job in the graphics industry, either movie making or gaming. So that was something which was given to me. Like, I had already worked before, I had some work experience to speak of, and I knew which fields I wanted to go into. But if you do not have that, then you might want to take your time to first decide which is your area of interest, build up your profile for that. It's always better to apply when you're ready rather than just applying early, even though when you're not ready. Build your profile, make sure that you have what the company needs, and because you'll only get one chance, right? That company, so make sure that chance counts.
And I just piggyback off what Sunny's saying. And part of the reason that we want to start working with students so early in July and even June is to get you ready. Because I think Sunny's right, you want to apply when you're ready, but our goal is to get you there. So if consulting is the field of your choice and you want to work at some of the bigger firms like Deloitte or McKinsey or Bain, then you do have to be ready at the beginning of September. So you have a couple of really strong things going for you. One, you go to UC Berkeley. So they come and they recruit here for a reason. Some will give offers contingent that you get a certain GPA throughout the year. So they know what courses you're going to take. And depending on if you pass them, which we all assume you're going to, and do well, then your job offer will hold. And some of the programming that we really try and front load, for example, Accenture's coming in mid to late August to conduct a case interview workshop. So we want to give you the skills so you could be very strong in those interviews. So you got into Berkeley, so you know a certain amount already from your undergrad. Maybe you've done an internship or two that you could rely upon. And outside of that, we're going to try and get you ready to do a case interview. And prepare you through mock interviews for the behavioral part as well. So you're in the same boat as a lot of other students in other recruiting cycles, so this happens a lot. Just take advantage of all the resources there are before recruiting starts.
Two more notes on if you're interested in consulting. One, a lot of them find the hybrid nature of this degree pretty interesting. So you can pretty much say, you don't want just an MBA who only knows business or an MS who only knows technology. We're exposed to both, and so try to play that up as much as possible. Beth and Julie did a great job of preparing us with that type of information early on. And then second, a lot of consulting firms do come early on, but one of my classmates, Olivia, so she got a job with McKinsey, I think April, when she graduated. And so there are still opportunities later on if consulting is what you want to do.
Yeah, this semester as well, some of my classmates have got jobs with Accenture this semester. So there is definitely opportunity later in the semester, in your second semester, but it doesn't quite harm to start early. I had interviews where they were like, in my resume I would say, okay, capstone project, and this is what I would be doing. And they would be like, so tell me about your capstone project. And obviously it's September, I have not started my capstone project yet. So I would be like, well, I have just started my capstone project. This is what we plan to work on. This is what our goal is or something. And you can tell them, be honest about it, that this I just started right now, and I would be able to give you much idea after 1 month or something. And employers are ready to hear that. I didn't find any resistance for bad looks from them. I get bad looks in my interviews when that happened, so it should be fine.
We have a question in the back.
Can you talk a little bit more about the technical electives? So you talked about how the top of the T courses helped you, but for the technical electives, are companies interested in the material learned, or are they more interested in the fact that you are capable of doing that level of work? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, do the classes help you, or is it more the fact that you took the classes?
Yeah, so I can speak about programming, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's not just that you took a class, it's more what you know about it from the class. Like if, for example, like I took computer vision and behavioral data mining, and in my interview, whenever somebody saw that I did computer vision with Jitendra Malik, who is one of the best professors of computer vision in the US, I guess, they were more interested in like what are the new techniques of computer vision which I've learned recently, and how do I see them applying to the industry. So it wasn't that you code it in front of us right now. They would be like, just whiteboard it for us. Just define what are the 2-3 new techniques which are coming out in the last 2-3 years. Because in that course, they know that you're going to read a lot of research papers, so you will be abreast with the latest tech in that particular technology, and then they will just ask you questions based off that. Like, why do you think this is better applicable in this field or that field? For example, computer vision is really well applicable in the Kinect, Xbox, Microsoft. So there will be questions based on that. So they can figure it out. It's not just programming that, okay, you know C programming or Java programming. You're done.
I would say for mechanical, it really depends. For controls people, they have worked on how to make your car self or like automotive and all those things, and they are being asked about that in interviews. For my part, it was more of the second part, what you said about what I learned from the courses. So my courses, out of 4 talk electives, 3 of my courses are project based, and so it's more like interviewing people, seeing what their actual needs is, building prototypes out of it, and things like that. So knowing all these concepts and being able to explain the needs of doing all these, going through all these processes is what my interviews were looking for.
Great. Any other questions?
Once on the job, I guess, what did you see as like the biggest learning curve or hurdle you had to face? And maybe how did the Berkeley program prepare you, or were you missing some stuff? And how'd that go for you?
I guess I'll go first, yeah. So because my situation's a bit unique, so when I was hired, technically I was approached and hired the last day of April, and then we need to have wireframes for the entire product ready within 3 days, and then push an actual prototype live within 3 weeks for the National Science Foundation. So that was crazy hectic. I don't think I really slept during that period of time. And I guess Berkeley helped because my capstone project, I didn't really sleep because of that. So the intensive workload and being able to work under those constraints definitely helped me in that respect. What was I missing? It's tough to say that because no matter what, you're always going to miss something. And so I don't think it's worth your time to worry about what you're going to miss out on, just trying to optimize what you can do.
Okay. I had a different experience, but yeah, not as crazy as yours. When I joined Zynga, they make you go through a boot camp in which you get 7 days to build a new game from scratch and show it to the CEO. And based on that, then it's a mutual matchmaking process, which team wants you and you want which team. So at the end of the boot camp, I was asked this question in my... So you also have to give a presentation after a boot camp, that what you learned from this boot camp and where do you think Zynga's weaknesses are in making games from Zynga's tech. And my response was that it was really difficult to search across different games. So Zynga didn't really have an internal search engine till last June. And then the follow-up question back from one of the CTOs was, how are you going to solve it? If we ask you to solve it, how will you solve it? And I had some ideas in my mind piggybacking from computer vision and data mining of how this could be solved for different games at Zynga. And even though I initially joined the company to become a game developer, I'm not developing any games anymore. I wrote the search engine for the first 3 months, pushed it out for 3 games, Poker, Farmville, and Cityville. And it was a huge success. And I even got promoted in the first 3 months. So I guess the big takeaway is like being able to identify problems even when you are developing them. And my capstone helped me in this a lot because I was always looking for ways to improve things rather than just doing things. So that was good for me.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, wonderful. And I just want to mention, since we weren't able to have somebody from BioE on the panel because we're just launching that department, we do have and are establishing even more great relationships with employers in that field. Some employers that have contacted me already that are really excited about our incoming cohort include Applied Predictive Technologies, Lockheed Martin, McKinsey, Accenture, LE Key Consulting, Intuitive Surgical. So those are some of the examples of employers that are interested in connecting with our BioE students. So I just wanted to throw that out there for you guys. And I'm going to take a moment just to thank the panel. Thank you all for your insights and coming in today. I think it was really helpful, and they'll be around for a few more minutes, as will I, to answer any questions that you might want to ask us individually. And after this, we'll have the networking hour. So you guys are done a little early. Feel free to come up, talk to us. If you need to take a break before the networking hour, that is fine as well. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good luck.